And then some random guy says, "Who's the U-boat commander?" I was like, what? I guess because he was wet.
He turned his boat into a submarine.
I was like, huh?
Or his car. He turned his boat into a submarine. You're like, I can't even remember.
She was fine. She didn't like blow me away. I was pissed. She didn't blow me through the TV. I thought she was good too, though. I mean, like it's like until you really learn a lot about her in the last like 5 seconds of the film, she's kind of like just a little bastard. What?
I don't know. That's just a weird.
Oh, she's a wee little bastard.
Whoa!
New setup.
That should be the intro.
Yeah. He's going off to jail. Whoa. But yeah, new setup, same old podcast. Or is it?
Same quality.
Yeah.
Different quantity.
Quality over quantity.
Nice music. How many times will it be said?
You dip your dick in the water, you're going to shrink right off.
Shrink right off.
So, how's everybody doing? This is the Bunny Shotz podcast, and we're in a much more relaxed set to sit. Matt, I came over and Matt had this set up, and I went, So, yeah.
Put in the man hours.
Yeah, he's thinking outside the bun. But, like, I guess what made you think to switch? We've been doing it forever in the same room.
I like to change things up every now and then.
Yeah, every once in a while I come over and Matt will like slap me in the face, so it changes it up, you know. Instead of punching me in the face.
Set my dog on attack mode. Kill!
But she does nothing. She's like, This is Matt Week. So why don't you tell the audience what you've chosen for them for us to talk about.
So I geniusly picked the Joey Pants combo. Did you notice the link?
I don't know who Joey Pants is.
Joe Pantoliano. The crazy pimp in Risky Business, who was also in Beverly Hills Buntz.
Yeah, okay.
Which I didn't even realize.
That's how great of a connection it was. I don't even remember him in the episode.
Guido, the killer pimp.
In the episode?
Yeah, he's in Beverly Hills Buntz.
I know, but I said I don't remember him in the episode.
Well,
that
that's because the show's not very memorable to begin with. I watched it a few days ago. I barely remember it.
Okay, so do you have anything to say for yourself for picking these?
No.
Okay. No, he has no comment. We'll see if that comes back to haunt him later in the episode. I'm like, nice comment. So, let's get on to our first segment of the week.
All right.
News for people that are nerdy and, they're just fucking dorks. Just like us.
This is not dork news.
This is, what would that be? Dork deliberations? But this is nerd news. So if you're a total nerd, aka everybody, because being nerds is cool now. So be a nerd. Don't be a turd. So, that's it. That's all we have to say. So, do you have any articles this week?
I do not.
Oh, really?
No.
Damn. Okay.
That's okay. I'm going to bring something else.
Okay.
Just not nerd news.
Okay. I have quite a few, actually. So, I'm going to run through them here since you don't have one. But, I'm like, I guess Mike Myers came out with that Pinte Verde or whatever show on Netflix. And since he's kind of back in the spotlight for doing something after like 50 years of kind of just doing small things here and there.
Shrek movies?
Yeah, they're asking him, about Austin Powers 4 in all the interviews. And he's like pretty much saying, I'm totally down to do it again. But it's like the same old stuff we've heard for years where it's like, I would love to do it, but I can't confirm anything as of now. So that's just kind of like one of those things. They've been talking about that like since like 2 years after Austin Powers 3, where it's like,
which was like 20 years
ago. The last
ago
like Jay Roach or the last like Austin Powers, the last Mike Myers, and it's like, okay. I was like, well, I don't know. I guess it's nice to see him at least doing something, regardless. So to me, it's nice to see Mike Myers involved in something actively and not just like a cameo role. And then there's a news article where like Sam Raimi, I guess, talks about why he took like 10 years from like directing a film. And I guess he's like, after doing so many films, essentially he was like, he wanted to like recharge his batteries and like, you know, do a bunch of stuff where he just like put out other younger people's movies and stuff and kind of learned from them, he said. And he's like, but then when I got the call to, you know, to do Doctor Strange, he was like, I was ready and, you know, to get back to work and stuff. And I was like, that's pretty legit. I wish more people would do that instead of just putting out the same old shit.
Yeah. Hopefully he's back because I think his last movie was Return to Oz or whatever.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Was one of the worst movies.
Yeah, it was pretty
really
much
bad.
a bomb.
So hopefully he can bounce back from
with the James Franco. And then the last little bit of news here I have is Cobra Kai got bumped up to September 9th on Netflix from like I guess New Year's.
Nice.
So, hell yeah, we got Pena Verde and fucking Cobra Kai. So if you're still hanging on to that Netflix subscription, I guess watch. So
good call.
Any recommendations this week?
I do.
Let me switch over to
a little something called Recommendation Nation. Ding, ding, ding. Whoa, almost passed out. So, I saw a great movie that I wanted to recommend, especially to you because I think you'd like it. It's it's a movie called Communion with Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Where it's an alien abduction story.
Oh wow.
From the late 80s.
I think I've actually seen the cover for this before.
Yeah, it's based on a book which is apparently a true story of like
Lost
a guy's
Time
experience.
Yeah. Missing Time is what they call it.
Yeah, Missing Time, and it's it's a standard alien abduction movie, but Christopher Walken's like, it's probably his weirdest performance ever, which is like
saying something.
Yeah. And it's really disturbing because there's like lots of scenes where he's being like probed, like anally probed and stuff by aliens and stuff. But his reactions are really weird because he's like horrified sometimes. Yeah. And then he's like laughing at the aliens, which is like such a weird disturbing thing that he does. And he's like dancing, and you got to see it just for Christopher Walken. Yeah. And it has some pretty creepy alien stuff in it.
Yeah, I think another notable movie besides that one that involves Missing Time is a movie called Fire in the Sky.
It's a similar vibe to that.
Where it's like people go out and then something happens and then they essentially go back and like they don't think anything happens, and then under like reverse hypnosis they find out that, you know, this ridiculous shit happened to them.
Yeah, there's pretty horrifying abduction scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've seen it.
That's the thing. When I was younger, that kind of used to terrify me. Like I didn't like lay awake at night, but I would kind of worry about it at some points because you would hear all these people that are like, I was in my house and I was abducted, and I would be like freaking out, but I don't really think about it now at all. Yeah,
like there's a really creepy scene in Communion where he has a cabin that they go to for like weekends, and it's just the middle of the night, and he wakes up and he's like, he's like, what are you doing here? And like a little alien gray peeks out from the corner, and it's like, really good stuff. I think you'd like it.
He's like, wait, I'm off screen. I don't know. I fucked up.
Communion.
I'm gonna write it down here.
Starring
Christopher Walken. I think I misspelled that. Maybe not. So do you have any tales?
No.
Okay. No tales to tell.
Do you have any Sonics?
Any what?
Sonics.
I'm like, what about a knuckle? Okay.
Anything? 3 ninjas knuckle up.
They're like, I'm like, what? So you ready for your weird watches that you picked?
I guess. Are you?
I guess so. We didn't even check to see if it's a fucking I gotta make sure the actual audio is on.
It's worth testing.
No, it's not. Okay. So, We'll go ahead and switch to weird watches. So how the hell did you hear about this crap?
I think I just heard about it on a podcast. Someone was talking about like big bombs that were like TV series that were huge fiascos, and I guess Beverly Hills Buntz is one. I just thought it sounded funny.
Yeah.
It's not as funny when you learn it's a spinoff from Hill Street Blues,
right?
Where Dennis Franz was Buntz.
Buntz.
So, what do you think of Beverly Hills Buntz?
I'm not really sure. Like, the first episode was okay. It wasn't anything that offended me. Like,
it wasn't like cop rock, like insane,
right?
Nonsense.
Yeah, it wasn't like something that I literally wish I had never watched. But it was also I could see it being a thing, but I mean they essentially took the character from this show and he was in that other show. What is it like?
Hill Street Blues. Which
that actually was popular.
I think Hill Street Blues was really popular.
Don't lie to me. NYPD Blue.
Yep. Well, that was after this.
They took that character essentially from this show and put him into NYPD Blue.
Well, they literally took the character from Hill Street Blues and spun it off into Beverly Hills Buntz. Right.
As you've already said.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
This is one of the very rare times where they spun off a serious show into a sitcom, basically, which was a weird choice, and it didn't quite work.
Yeah, I'd never heard of Hill Street Blues either, so I was like, okay.
I think my parents watched it back in the day.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a highly regarded show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the guy who created it's the same guy that created Sopranos, David Chase.
So he made one good thing.
I'm telling you, Hill Street
Blues.
Yeah.
Sopranos is a piece of shit. Speaking of which, I mean, there's all kinds of Sopranos shit on this podcast because we got fucking what's his face, your man,
Joey Pants.
Yeah, Mandingo over here. Yeah. What do they call him? They call him Little Guido or something.
Guido, the killer pimp from Risky Business.
Fucking derogatory term as an actual name. It's what? I guess we'll get into that later because I have some notes on that. So back to Beverly Hills Buntz.
It was
probably the best part about this is the stupid name, Buntz. It's I liked kind of his sidekick, his friend or whatever.
Yeah, he wasn't really doing it for me.
He was kind of
I mean, it was something different.
Yeah, yeah. But there's really no. That's the thing is there's really no explanation as to I guess maybe if you would watch Hill Street Blues, you would understand maybe this is a character from that show that left with him. But it's I shouldn't have to watch a previous show to know what the fuck's going on in this show. They should have explained it more because it's literally just hey, he's his friend. I'm why is a cop hanging out with a fucking guy that was an ex-con or some shit?
I really liked the opening credits, the theme song.
Oh, dude, that shit was
it was cool.
It was so outtakes. It was I was the intro was a bunch of outtakes. They just slapped it into the beginning of the show.
But I thought it was nice music.
But anyway, so yeah, I guess this aired from 87 to 88, so it was it had a season essentially. But it stores. It has what's his face? Buntz, like you said, from Hill Street
Dennis
Blues.
Franz.
Norman Buntz.
From Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
Die Hard.
Most famously NYPD Blue.
Yeah.
Where he just takes his character from both these shows and they put it into that show. But I guess he goes to California for some random reason. And I guess they say in the show he was a piece of shit and he kept fucking up, so now he's here, and I'm okay.
Kind of like a Beverly Hills Cop situation.
Yeah, but it says geeky sidekick. I'm I didn't Sid the Snitch. I was I didn't think this guy was a geek. I thought he was I guess maybe back then they would say he's a geek, but that's not what you would think a geek is now. A geek is a nerd, somebody that's into
he's just a weirdo.
Yeah,
which makes this a weird watch.
Right. But he's not a geek. He's a
Yeah.
He's like a lowlife. But he's not really like he doesn't seem malicious. He's just trying to like, well, I guess, I don't know. If he's trying to con people out of money, I guess that's malicious.
Yeah.
But it's a fish out of water series, which sank in 5 months. But you said, yeah, Dennis Franz would later refine Buntz's shoot from the lip persona for his star-making role as troubled detective Andy Sipowicz in NYPD Blue. Yeah.
I really don't have a ton to say about it. It was just kind of like...
Yeah,
it was kind of there.
Yeah.
It was like not offensively bad, not very good, just kind of... It was fine.
Yeah, this was...
I was expecting more of a like... Huh? Like, I can't believe what I'm watching. And this is just kind of a...
It was a
pretty
good
lame
pick.
show. It was what?
Yeah, I said it was a good pick. This guy...
It didn't live up to the title of
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Buntz.
Yeah, it wasn't really like... It's funny because, like, it wasn't really weird either. Like, the weirdest one we've had on here, I think, was, like... I don't know. Like, what would be the weirdest
Cop Rock,
one?
like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Actually, My Mother the Car is definitely the weirdest, but...
Yeah.
But Cop Rock is just, like... It's literally, like, High School Musical before High School Musical was a show. It's, like... Except for... It's not entertaining for anyone. It's like, dude, there's not enough songs to make anybody give a shit, and, like... The regular show is just boring. But we've already talked about that, so see a previous episode. I thought this dude that played like his like sidekick was like the dude that played Iggy in the Super Mario Brothers movie, but it's not. Like, he kind of looks the same, but it's like a completely different actor. What'd you think about when like the sidekick came out of the shower with like a boombox and he was wearing like a boxing robe? I was like, what is going on right now? It said, like, Kid Gomez on the back. Yeah. There's just, like, a bunch of random stuff that happens in this episode. It's like they're living, or they're in essentially their, like, business is in the same place with, like, a writer, actor lady. And, like, he ends up saving her at one point. And then, like, his sidekick's trying to, like, get... like some money from a lady, like by training her cat to not eat like a lot. And at the end of the episode, like, because he keeps saying, when the hell are you going to get out of here and go back to like where you live and stuff, he says, well, you could maybe like live out here some more or whatever. I don't really remember what like changes his mind on that. I think maybe he like comes and gets him out of the jail and helps him out. Maybe that's what it is. But at the end, I have a line here that I had to write down. He says, look at these guys fishing off the pier. They're pulling fish right out of the water. And that's the last line. That's like, what fucking...
the definition of fishing.
Yeah, I was like... He was like, look at these guys fishing off the pier. They're fishing fish out of the water. Hey! And I was like...
Like, off to a bad start.
Wow, this is great.
I just think the idea of the show is you take a streetwise cop and put him in wacky situations, and it just wasn't wacky enough. It was just kind of...
Because also it had been done to death. There's so many shows that they'll take somebody and they'll be like, they're going to California. It's like, okay, dude.
The Perfect Strangers did it. Remember that? Speaking of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a bunch of notes about that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it wasn't offensive. Like, I didn't get pissed watching this, but I wasn't like... It wasn't like Resident Alien where I was like, I want to watch more of this, you know?
No, it's not inspiring at all.
Yeah. So I guess are we both in agreement that we will not be watching anymore?
Yes.
Of Beverly Hills Buntz?
Beverly Hills Buntz is one and done.
Yeah, this is... I wish all of the weird watches ended in un, so that could be our thing. Either continue watching or a one and done's. I guess we could still do that.
Beverly Hills Buntz is the classroom dunce.
Yeah. Beverly Hills Buntz. Hopefully the director's was munced. Munched. Fuck.
I got it.
You're gonna get it. Yeah, I mean, it was a good pick, though. That's the thing. I was just kidding before. I mean, it's always one of those things where it's nice.
I heard the name.
It's nice
it was
to watch.
Stupid sounding. I had to watch it.
You kept sending me stuff like, I can't wait to watch Beverly Hills Buntz. And then after you had watched it, I didn't hear a thing. So I was like...
You knew it sucked.
Yeah, I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I mean, there's that's what the whole thing's about, is watching stuff we would never watch normally. Like, I would never watch any of these shows normally, but I'm glad I did, because a lot of them, I've got, entertainment out of.
Yeah.
So you ready to go to, like, the main event?
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Got plenty to say about this movie. Risky Business. This is a film, why'd you pick this, actually? I'll let you go ahead.
Because I really like it.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about it. I wasn't sure if you'd seen it or not, but, like, it makes me think. So I wanted to ask questions. But I remember it was kind of like one of those things that I always knew about this movie growing up, because it had the famous scene with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like,
it's probably
around.
like, I think that's like the most famous scene of his career.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I thought, well, this is just that silly movie where Tom Cruise dances around. But then I finally saw it, and I was like, oh, this movie is actually really good.
I was a little shocked as to what it actually was.
Yeah.
There's a couple movies like that on here that I've never watched, but I've heard of, that I had, preconceived notions about.
Exactly. It's not all lighthearted.
Which is so weird, because it is portrayed like that. You never hear anything about anything else we're going to talk about in this.
Right.
Which is shocking, because maybe they want to appeal to... But this is like an R-rated movie.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, there are definitely stuff we'll talk about in this that is R-rated, but it's like... That's not how you would think. You would think this is like, hey, this is like, Home Alone, like a, a John Hughes, like, family film kind of deal, but it's not.
Yep.
But this came out in 1983, and right off the bat, it's an American teen sex comedy drama film. So this was Tom Cruise. This is like his breakout film.
Yep.
And it was like a critical and commercial success. I was blown away at this. It made $63 million, and it had a $6.2 million budget. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a big hit.
There's only a couple movies that like kind of like match that these days. Like the newest Spider-Man movie, I think it's like the highest grossing film of all time now. Like, made billions and billions of dollars, but that's not the norm. Like, like this amount of money is huge. Like, especially for the investment. I mean, I think like...
Was it 60 million?
Yes,
that's like $6 billion
it's ridiculous. Yeah. And like when we were growing up, I think the thing that we all knew about that did that was one of the ones we'd already talked about. What was it? Blair Witch Project. That movie had like a small budget and made like a freak ton of money. Like...
NTMNT.
Yeah, that's movie. True. That's like I think that's from what I heard. This could be wrong. This could be an incorrect trivia thing, but I heard it was like the highest grossing like independent film at one point or something.
It was at the time until Blair Witch broke the record, I believe.
They broke the record.
They broke the
mold. And my heart.
Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. So what'd you think?
I thought it was okay. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Cool. Like I didn't like... This isn't going to be like a new classic for me, but it's that could also be like maybe I didn't see it when I was younger, so I don't have like the same appreciation for it like I do like other films like TMNT and stuff. It is a good film. Like, there was never anything. I never like wanted to fast forward through anything, which is always a good thing. When we watch films and I've never seen something before, and I start to get bored, and I want to fast forward, but I don't. I'm always like, oh man. But it was definitely entertaining. It's very interesting to see like all these actors that weren't really big yet, or were just on the cusp of, kind of getting their roles, in this film. So,
yep.
And like you said, yeah, it definitely has like a bunch of stuff in it that's like, it's like the expectations of his parents, and like, if he doesn't get into college, he's like, my life's over, and it's like, that's ridiculous. But I mean, that's the way a lot of people have gone through that, where like, yeah, like if they feel if they don't get into college, like their life's over, or they don't get into the right college, and it's like, that's absolutely not true. But the expectations are there. And then on top of that, it's like growing up being like, well, he hadn't had sex and all this other stuff. And, he's just hanging out with his friends, and it's like the same kind of stuff that anybody growing up can, I saw a lot of the times that we would all hang out and do the same thing, chill out and smoked cigars incorrectly when we were growing up and stuff, that kind of thing. So it was
I always smoke cigars, correct? That's the Matt guarantee.
If you're smoking a cigar, you're smoking it incorrectly. I'm like, that's it. I'm a dare officer. You're dead. So I guess essentially, should we go down like the breakdown of like the film, or should we just get into the notes, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
I think for me, one of the big things about this movie that I like so much is the score by Tangerine Dream.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like so good. It elevates like 2 letter grades. This movie, I love it so much because it's like the synthesizer-y type score. But there's a lot of good songs in this movie too, including Phil Collins.
Yeah, they were able to essentially get a bunch of stuff in this film. Like, for getting it for $6.2 million, that's pretty ridiculous. Like,
yep.
And I think that's probably to do with, even though I'm sure some of these songs were like popular, they hadn't yet reached like the cult status they are today. Cause,
like In the Air Tonight?
Yeah. In the Air Tonight, and there's like a bunch of other 80s songs. And then, like, of course, this film made... what's it called?
Old Time Rock and Roll.
Like, even like it became like it went from like what it was to like, you know, it's like a legendary song now just because of that scene. Legendary. The disgraceful Joel. Tom Cruise.
Good son.
Good son. I mean, it's easy to obviously when you watch this film be like, oh man, you can totally see Tom Cruise, like he's going to be a big star. But I mean, if you watch this, he's definitely like a better actor than like most of the other people in this film.
Yeah,
like because
he's great in this movie.
It could, you know, it's could definitely been a film where like it could have been if somebody else had done. I mean, there are tons of people that could have done this film, but like there are also tons of people that could have been the star and it could have like not done shit.
Yeah.
So like he definitely like did his part. I actually read that there were a couple other people that were like, you know, in consideration, and I don't know how true this was, but like it was like Michael J. Fox and like Nicolas Cage and a bunch of other people as well, but those were like the notable standouts to
Nicolas
me.
Cage, that could have been,
and I was just like, huh, interesting. But yeah, I thought he did a pretty good. I don't know. I'd never been like a not Nicolas Cage, but a Tom Cruise like hater. I think he does a pretty serviceable job in all his films.
Yeah, I'll pretty much see anything he does.
But yeah, I don't know if I answered that question. What was the question? I forgot where the fuck I was. But essentially, yeah. I mean, like, it's a good film. I mean, I liked it. There's like
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. I saw it. There's a slow-mo intro credits, which it was like slow-mo where they slow the film speed down so much that it's like they're like stretching out a train footage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. This is
it's so edgy, man.
I was like, this is like totally trying to use footage to the maximum. Okay, so I lied. I did fast forward past that part.
I love that kind of stuff. It was like setting a good atmosphere for the movie.
I think it's a waste of time. But that's what
you're
you
like.
get.
I wish there was an opening credit or opening crawl.
I wish there was like an actual
in the year 1983.
Wish there was an actual
Joel Goodsen.
Someone making this film that had a brain. No, whenever I see that, it's only because like I edit so much stuff that like it's so obvious that that's like. And this could be wrong, but like whenever it's that slow and it's so disjointed, it looks like someone's trying to stretch out footage that they only have a certain amount of. Mm-hmm. And that's probably not right, but it just came across, so it was like a different eye that I was watching it from. I'm sure you were, so you were probably like, oh, this is great.
I'm like, this is an artistic choice.
There are plenty of things in this movie that are like that are fine, but
yeah. I think that's what I like about this movie is it's not your standard like teen sex comedy.
Teen sex.
It's
don't ban us.
It's just got some more artistic touches to it.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit edgy.
I'm like, paint, and then I'm like, you're like, artistic touch. So I'm going to paraphrase this beginning little bit here, because I don't want to read this whole thing, because it's like 5 hours long. Which is fine, but I mean, if you want to watch the film, just watch the film. So, so he has this dream, and he's like, the dream's always the same. Instead of going home, I go to the neighbors. I ring. Nobody answers. The door's open, so I go inside. I'm looking around for people. No one seems to be there. Then I hear the shower running. So I go upstairs to see what's what, and I stop to myself and I go, what the fuck? He's a pervert!
Sometimes in life, you just have to say, what the heck?
Sometimes in life, you have to go and commit a crime.
But that's another thing about this movie is like, there's that dream sequence, but this whole movie kind of like has a nightmare quality to it a little bit, because like his life keeps unraveling in like a nightmarish way where it's like things keep getting worse and worse.
Yeah. And it's very weird, because like usually in dreams when they show them the person, like I think this is the only one I've ever seen where the person narrates their dream and they like, it's like they're in control of it almost, but they're not. Because I don't know about you, but whenever I'm dreaming, I'm never in control of my dreams. They just happen, or at least it seems that way. And things happen in a weird way where it's like, why the hell did that happen? You know what I mean? Even if something I want to happen happens, it never turns out the way that it's supposed to. But in this, it was like, he's like, I hear the shower, so I go up, and then I talk to the lady, and she's like, come in, I want you to watch. And he's like, okay. And then it kind of becomes like a real dream where it like, it like shifts over to like, he's like, oh shit, but now I'm in like school, and I'm late for my stuff. So it kind of starts off like, kind of like a dream I wouldn't believe someone having, to like an actual dream where it's like, okay, shit, this has like become like almost a nightmare. So, what do you think about Tom Cruise dressing like Captain N, the game master over here? What the fuck?
Does he wear that like sweater or whatever with the shirt?
No, he has the freaking varsity red and white.
Oh yeah, that's right.
In the pants, like the jeans Captain and the freaking what's it called? The sneakers. It's like, okay, dude. But I'm assuming the Captain N, I'm assuming came out after this, because this is 83 and Nintendo didn't even come out till 83 or didn't. Yeah, so it was like, you know, Captain N is doing a Joel cosplay. I was gonna say Joel Osteen, but that's the preacher guy, I think. What's his last name?
Goodsen.
Goodsen. Ah, the good son.
It's very subtle.
More like the bad son. He's got you. So
he did break that egg.
What? He's like, I'm a bad egg. So Every Breath You Take, I'll Be Watching You is one of the first songs they play. That's like, it's like cult status now, but I'm sure back then it was like,
that was like a song that was on the radio at the time.
Everyone Smokes Cigars, and Balky for Perfect Strangers over here, like slob on the knob, like Colonel on the Cob. He's like munching it deep throat style. Like he's like smoking it, and then when he pulls it out, it's like there's that much that was like down his throat, and I'm like,
that is ridiculous.
Don't be ridiculous. And then Booger over here is doing the same thing. It's not as bad, but his is like fucking sopping wet. And I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing to these cigars off camera?
What do you think of Booger in this movie?
You know, I honestly haven't really seen this guy in anything before, so I know of him in other films, but I've never really seen him in... I've heard him in, like, American Dad, like he does the voice of, like, a side character. I was like, I know this guy from somewhere. And I've only seen, like, a couple episodes of that show before, but I've heard him before. And, but I think, what's he in? Like, Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, Nerds. He was definitely, like, one of those characters that was, like, very unique. Yeah. Like, and you could tell that's what they were going for. They're like, oh, this guy's wears like a, you know, he's like Kenny from Kenny vs. Spinny. He's wearing like an army jacket and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I mean, like I liked him. I didn't find any of the characters like annoying or anything like that. So that could have easily been the case, but it wasn't. Thank God. Yeah,
I'm always happy to see Balky pop up and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, dude. Yeah, that was so cool. And he got like a pretty big role too. He wasn't just like a side guy, which I always loved that. It's like whenever you see like Robert Picardo in something and he's a side guy, but he's only in it for like 5 seconds. I'm like, really, dude? Come on.
Yep.
It's like, this guy's the best guy in this film. So I'm say everybody knows about the famous scene in this film where he like slides across the floor while listening to
so Bob Seger?
Yeah, Bob Seger. And
it wasn't the last time he'd jump on a couch. We all know that.
I wonder how many times it took for him like not to fall on his ass when he did that, or if it was like a one take kind of deal, but like. So speaking of a couch though, like, you know, everybody knows about all the stuff that happens in this, but like nobody really talks about the part where he like jumps on the couch and has like a fucking fit. He like jumps face down on the couch and is like, and then he's like, I don't know what the fuck that was about. It was just kind of like he was. I think
you didn't do that when you had the house all to yourself.
No, I did other things, which we won't get into. But yeah, he just jumped on the couch face first and was like, like fucking Darth Sidious was hitting him with like lightning bolts. He's like, oh.
He's like, no,
yeah. But yeah. Check that out whenever you watch this film again. You may be surprised. Listen, you guys. Does anybody want to accomplish anything, or do you just want to make money? Make money!
Make money, money, make money.
But that definitely sets up for how everything around him is like all about... And it's like, it's very encapsulating for like a certain thing with the 80s. I mean, you even look at like Back to the Future. Like, his parents are considered losers until they rewrite the film, and it's like his parents are like 80s businessmen, and now they're fucking great.
Yeah, but that's
even though they loved him before, so it was like they were considered losers. But like you were saying,
his big victory is when his parents buy him a new car,
right? So it's like everything in the 80s was
materialistic.
Yeah, it was money,
especially
like,
in the white suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah,
which is like what this movie's all about.
Yeah, money and like. You know, it was just like the 80s businessman kind of deal. Like,
yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think that Tom Cruise, like, learns? What's the lesson of this movie? And is it a good lesson or not? Does he change throughout the movie?
I don't know, because in the end of the film, he kind of gets everything he wants anyway, so... I think if anything...
It's almost like everything will work out for you if you're rich and white.
Well, I think that's probably true anyway, as far as like everybody that's past the age of probably like, you know, a certain point and isn't still like a, you know, white person and like had a spoon in their mouth their whole life knows that. And like having said that, like I think that he seems like a smart enough person that he would at least learn certain things from it. Like he doesn't, going into this, he doesn't seem to really be like all about money, but it could also be that he's trying to say that because his future is uncertain, where all of his friends' futures seem to be more certain. Mm-hmm. I guess you can hope that he's learned something from this, but I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, if he's able to go through the rest of his life, and like he seems to be really good at what he does, so if he's able to kind of go into this and make a ton of money and like be happy, then that's fine. I mean, that's all you can really hope for before you fucking die.
Yeah,
is like make the money you need to make and be happy. So hopefully, at least, I guess the best thing you can hope for is that he ends up with someone he likes, and you know, maybe that lady, and he makes his parents proud. But his parents are kind of like people I don't know if he would really want to make proud, because they're kind of like, they don't give a shit about anything other than if...
Bring me another watercress sandwich, Muffy.
Well, they don't seem to give a shit about really what he wants. But it's also one of those things where, has he told them, or is he too scared to speak up? Because even at the end of this film, he's like gone through all this stuff, and they still
they care about is the
egg. They seem to like nitpick him. So, because they don't know anything that's gone on.
If the thing you care about most is a glass egg,
yeah,
you've got your priorities mixed up.
I guess I'll return your Christmas present.
No, my precious eggs.
You will have no more Fabergés for your birthdays.
What do you think this movie's about?
I can go to the... No. Let me go to the synopsis and find out. I mean, it's about...
It's about boffing.
Yeah, it's about brothing. And it's about toffing. I mean, I think anybody that watches this film will probably come to the conclusion that it's like... It's mainly about, you know, the ridiculousness of materialization and, like, money and, like, expectations on people that are placed, especially when they're growing up, and, like, by people that already have their future set and know what they want, putting it on people that they don't know yet. So it's like, you know, I don't know. What do you think? Is it...
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Like how when you're growing up, sometimes it does seem like a single mistake could ruin your whole life.
Right.
Which
is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless you, like, kill someone.
Right. Which
right.
is true, but, like...
Most things that happen while you're growing up aren't shit. It's funny because, like, I remember that kind of stuff being like, oh, man, I did something and, like, now my friendship's over with this person just because I had an argument or this or that. And it's like, now that I'm, you know, going to be 40 this year, it's like, you think and you're like, you know, most of that, I mean, even years ago, I thought, like, you know, it's not even that big of a deal. Honestly, when I was growing up, it was like you said, I mean, like, besides, like, killing somebody, like, it's not a big deal. Like, especially if you're friends with somebody, and we've been friends from way before, like, high school, but, like, if something happened, like, that trivial, like, we had an argument, and then it was like, this friendship's over, then that wasn't really going to be a friendship. We were probably going to continue.
Well, since your take on Universal Soldier...
it's gone from...
What's it called? I can't even remember what it's the subtitle.
Day of Reckoning.
Day of Reckoning.
Which is funny because I have a game on...
Turn in your friend card.
GameCube wrestling game called Day of Reckoning.
Really?
Yes.
Raw is war. Anyways.
Devereaux. What's his name? Is that what it is? Devereaux? Yeah. What was it?
Luke Devereaux.
What was the one guy? Chance? He's like...
Chance Boudoir.
Yeah, he's like, my mama took a chance on me. It's like, what?
Your name is Chance? My mama took one.
It's like...
Hard target. Classic.
Like, not really. What are you talking about? Oh, Trav says, how much does Solly want for that hat? That's funny.
You can buy it at the store.
Sure, they have a ton of them still.
On NFL.com.
Ah. Not sponsored, sadly.
Ah, nice hat.
Nice Super Bowl.
One other thing I wanted to talk about is Rebecca De Mornay.
Who does she play?
She's the main female lead.
Oh, Lana.
Lana. To me, she steals this movie. I love her in this movie. She's great. Like, it's a super interesting character, and because she has to be like a tough, streetwise person, but you can also tell like she's like very sad inside and stuff. But she has to act cool. And I just think it's an awesome performance. I wish she was in more movies. I think she's great in this movie. To me, she's the real star.
There you have it.
You're like, I can't even remember.
She was fine. She didn't like blow me away. I was pissed. She didn't blow me through the TV. I thought she was good too, though. I mean, like it's like until you really learn a lot about her in the last like 5 seconds of the film, she's kind of like just a little bastard. What?
I don't know. That's just a weird.
Oh, she's a wee little bastard. But you know what I mean? Like she's unneedingly an asshole to Tom Cruise for the most part.
She's got to teach him street smarts.
Yeah, by fucking him over at every turn. for hiring and paying for her services. She's like, you're the only one that doesn't hit me. I will fuck you.
I will steal from you.
Yeah. She's like, I will steal and I will hurt. Switching over from bastard to a rat. This teacher looks like a damn rat in this freaking...
Really?
He kind of did. He was like... like a scabbard. His friend brings over his girlfriend and they're going to have sex upstairs. That was like kind of uncomfortable to watch.
Classic high school shenanigans.
Yeah. Classic. Me and Matt used to do it all the time.
I do think it's a funny joke where he's like, if you can hear me moan twice.
Yeah, they're like, oh. Whoa.
That's funny.
Yeah, that part was funny.
I love a good moan. You know, we've talked about it. We've spent hours talking about moans.
Hours? You know, what you guys don't know is once the cameras go off and we're not doing the podcast, me and Matt actually go on YouTube and we rate moans. So maybe that'll be a segment we'll come up with.
RateMyMoan.com.
Yeah.
Right. I'm copywriting that right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that would go over well.
Rate that moan.
I feel like that might be popular, not on YouTube, but on another website. Or maybe a horror website. Rate my moan. So Balky and Tom Cruise are working, and that's when they hear the moans and stuff, and they just like leave after, like you were saying. I did have a note while I was watching it said, what's wrong with this one guy that plays Booger? He's like a freak on a leash or something. He's wanting the guy to do a fully equipped dungeon. My daddy used to spank my bare bottom. Now he's gone. Will you take his place?
I freeze framed a lot of those like ads, and there's some funny stuff in there.
That was actually a question, Matt, not a part of my notes.
Fully equipped dungeon.
I'm like, Matt, the question is, will you take his place?
You were right about one thing. The dungeon was fully equipped.
He's like, ah! Yeah, he does the classic phone a call girl and eat the number. Mm-hmm. He was like...
Made me think of an incident with one of our friends.
Where he ate a call girl and phoned the number. I don't even remember that, but I do remember somebody eating a piece of paper.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Never forget.
Yeah. R.I.P. She shows up and ends up being, it was like a black person in drag, or they were trans or something, but they don't, like, regardless, like, he paid them, like, they cost like $75 just for, like, them to come out and stuff.
Yeah.
And
they pretty much took pity on Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, here, just $75.
Yeah.
Like, especially...
I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah.
Like, that was a cool moment.
It was like a nice person. It was like, yeah, you probably want this person instead. So, speaking of sexually related things, later on, just a little bit, he's like laying in his bed and he starts like jerking his pud, and somehow he like falls asleep while he's doing it and has a dream where he's like doing it with a babysitter, and then like the police show up. They're like, get off the babysitter. And then like the police chief and his parents show up and they're like, you have no future, you're a degenerate. And it's like, this is the kind of shit this guy's like thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like, so like even more so than that, like how the hell do you like start going to it and then you're just like like never like possible?
Bet you didn't expect to see that in this
I did.
family friendly Tom Cruise.
I didn't expect
romp.
to see somebody like jerking it and then pass the fuck out. Usually happens when you're done. So he's looking through the paper for women, and he like picks up the card that the person gave him, and he gives him a call, and he's gotten ready, and then he like once again falls asleep. I'm like, dude, is this guy like not getting any sleep? I guess. Like, but having said that, you were talking about nightmare stuff earlier. But they like pan down from the house, and it's like playing this synth music, and while the wind blows and there's leaves going everywhere, and a bicycle falls over, and you could like easily mistake this if you had just tuned in for like a horror film.
Yeah, like Freddy.
Yeah, I was like, this is really cool, but this is totally like, what the hell's happening here? And then so she finally shows up, and she's like, are you ready for me, Ralph? And then he like turns into like a freak. and he like pulls up her dress
on a leash.
Yeah, exactly. And dude, it's like he pulls up her dress and instantly it's like it's like gone. It's like turns into dust or whatever. She's like completely nude instantly, and I'm like, holy shit, that's quick. Yeah. Pretty much they have sex, and one of the funny parts of this that they're having sex on the stairs, and it's kind of out of focus a little bit, and they pan over, and it shows like him as a kid and a baby, like in pictures. Which I read that that's actually like Tom Cruise when he was a baby.
Real pictures.
Yeah, actually real pictures.
It's a good touch.
Yeah. In fact, there was lots of good touches in this film.
There's lots of boffing.
Yeah. Oh, but earlier, yeah, like I said, the people that auditioned for the role, these are the rest of the people. I did write it down. It's John Cusack, Nicolas Cage, Michael J. Fox, Tom Hanks, and Sean Penn.
I could see all of them except Michael J. Fox. That's a stretch.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox is a little too wholesome, I feel like. Not that Tom Cruise is like a fucking reprobate, but like you see his bare ass and all this other stuff in this film. Well, actually, I don't know if you see his bare ass, but you see enough of him to you see him. You're like, oh yeah, you do. I'm like, I got another thing here afterwards. Lana tells Joel that he owes her $300, but when adjusted for inflation today in 2020, that would be $893.79.
Woo!
Yeah.
Now that's an expensive boff.
Yeah. I'm like, a boff? I thought they had sex.
Yeah, that always cracks me up.
So, yeah.
There's a random shot. I think we passed it, but it always stuck out of my mind for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like the hose shot. Do you remember that? It's where he's like doing yard work or whatever, and it's a shot of a hose, and it's like the most phallic thing I've ever seen because like the hose enters the frame,
yeah,
and in slow motion, and then there's like water spurts out of it, and I'm like, I think I get it.
That's pretty funny.
But I like that stuff.
Yeah,
it's not subtle, but.
Bullshit.
Interesting.
Where's the damn hose?
Hose shot.
Give me the damn hose shot.
Do you agree with Booger's philosophy that sometimes in life you just have to say, "What the heck"?
I mean, I think in most instances you should do that. You should just do what does that mean? Does that mean like I'm assuming that means like don't do what other people think you should do. Do what you think is right. Yeah, I mean like
I think that's one of the big morals of this story that I like is your life shouldn't be on rails. Like, you know what I mean?
Put me on rails.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Be spontaneous sometimes. Like get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. That was spontaneous.
Yeah, there you go.
Spontaneous, buddy.
You said, "What the heck?"
Like, what the heck? Yeah, I'm like, what was it?
Yeah.
I slap your yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, I mean, I think there was a point in my life when I was like, I definitely was more worried about what people thought and kind of like did. You know, but I found out more people liked not only the entertainment that I did and like everything else and who I was by like whatever the fuck I wanted to do. Like, I mean, not whatever, but like, you know what I mean? Like, what I thought was right. So, yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise, the problem with him is he's in this film is like, when he says that, he's like, dude, you're not able to do anything that you want to do. Like, you're living your life, the life your parents want you to live, and you're not living the life that you were like born to live.
Yeah.
So
that reminds me, like when I started a job I used to have, this was like right out of college. Like the first day, I was with some guy who's like Joel Goodsen style, like a yuppie kid, basically.
And you guys were boffing?
No, he was talking about like his investment plans and like retirement. Like, I'll be able to retire by... I'm like, dude, you're like 22 years old.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about now is your retirement?
Right.
Like, come on.
You've
I
only
mean,
just
not
begun.
saying it's not important to plan for that, but
right.
Live your life.
Yeah. It becomes an issue where it's like, I've known a couple people that like they make a shit ton of money, and obviously I'm not going to name any names here. But it becomes an issue where it's like, when do you start living your life and enjoying the fruits of your labors, rather than just being like, all I'm going to do is work, and all I'm going to, it's like, you're going to end up being like fucking Ebenezer Scrooge over here, and you're going to have all this money and nothing to show for it. Didn't you fucking read the story, you cuck? The cuckold horns are free. So, Booker's got it right, man. That's not even his fucking name in this film. What's his name? It's,
We should probably say
sorry to whoever your fucking name is in IRL. What's his actor's name?
we should probably say that at some point. Curtis Armstrong.
Yeah, this
as
guy's
Miles.
this guy's a big actor. Everybody, well, he's not. I don't know. I mean, he's fucking.
He's Booger. Everyone.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's like he's done a couple things that everybody knows him for. He's like a cult icon, but he's no fucking Tom Cruise. But that doesn't mean he's not as good as Tom Cruise. He just hasn't gotten the roles Tom Cruise has. I always put most actors on the same level. It just depends on what lucky and luxury things you've gotten.
oh my god, he does so much TV now. It's
oh
crazy.
yeah, I mean that's what the fuck is this? There's like a hellscape on the iPad right now. That's like, my Lord and Savior is Satan. I'm like, you will burn. What's the Metacritic say about him?
There's only one critic I care about.
Oh, I bet Monica in my life.
And that's Roger Ebert.
Ah.
Who loved this movie. Gave it 4 stars.
Of course he would.
Yeah, because it's good.
Because he's a fucking idiot.
There you have it.
Even if I like the movie, he's still an idiot. No, what you want to say what he said? Or we're still like probably about halfway through this like review, but you can go ahead. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, I mean...
You're like, actually, you didn't say anything. I like him.
Risky Business is a movie about male adolescent guilt. In other words, it's a comedy. It's funny because it deals with subjects that are so touchy, so fraught with emotional pain, that unless we laugh, there's hardly any way we can deal with them. Yeah, it's nothing
what the
super
fuck?
notable.
Did he actually write this review? Because this is actually on point. Like, he's gotten 2 reviews right so far.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead in this.
I mean, that pretty much sums it up right there.
Yeah.
He said it in like 2 sentences what we couldn't say in like an hour.
That's because he had like 20 fucking years to probably write it. If I had like a whole day to write a review and I wasn't doing it live, I'd be able to do the same thing.
Oh, he agrees with me.
Nice review.
The next best thing about this movie is the casting. Rebecca de Mornay somehow manages to take that thankless role, the hooker with a heart of gold, and turn it into a very specific character.
There you have it.
She's a very complicated young woman. But yeah.
What do you say about Day of Reckoning? He's like, this is a gold standard for Devereaux. He's like, I took a chance on this film, just like my mama did on me.
This movie knows what goes on behind the closed bathroom doors of the American dream. Genius!
He's like, your fingers are wet.
He's like, nailed it. You're welcome for this review.
I'm like,
exactly.
Exactly. I'm like, I can't disagree, but I still hate him.
Why?
Because he's an idiot. I'm like, this guy's a fucking moron. So let's get back on track here. We've been off the rails. It's time to get back on the rails.
You know.
That's what you liked?
Doing a deep dive.
Ah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say?
No.
Ever?
We talked about the garden hose scene.
I'm like, you lied. He's talking.
There's a ice cream eating scene in this movie that really set me off.
What? Set you off? What do you mean? Like you got like horny?
No, they're licking ice cream cones, and like in mid cone, Tom Cruise just like tosses his cone. I'm like, dude,
he's like high as fuck, and he's like, fuck this shit.
The cone's the best piece. He just tosses it away. Like, if I ever saw someone throw a cone like that.
I don't know if I'd ever say that the cone was the best piece, but it's like, it's nice to have one together.
Yeah.
It's like, it's nice to have one together, not 2 together. That'd be like if you like threw the ice cream on the ground and just were like, I'd be like, what?
Throwing cones over here.
Throws the ice cream on the ground and just eats the cone. I'm like, just the paper on the cone. He's like, so we got Booger over here, Miles, saying that I got a midterm tomorrow and I'm being chased by Guido, the killer pimp. Guido's his actual name, maybe. Killer pimp, I don't think is part of the name.
Yeah.
But Guido, a man especially an Italian-American, regarded as vain, aggressively masculine, and socially unsophisticated. It's slang. So they get home, and one of his friends is leaving, and he had like sex with one of Lana's friends, one of her hooker friends, I guess. And then that's when they kind of get. He doesn't think about this, but she she
realizes she's sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, wait a minute. And like he had a ton of money because all their friends have like either they're like
all little rich boys.
Yeah. So we've got we had already talked about this, but we finally see Joe Pantaleone.
Joey Pants.
Good old. Okay. I don't know what to say about that, actually.
That's his name.
I'll take your word for it. I don't think that's what they say in The Matrix, but in The Matrix, he's eating that bloody steak. He's also known as the man with the worst haircut in the world in The Sopranos.
Ralphie.
Yeah. Which, and he's also in The Bad Boys.
Yep.
And
the Chief.
Many others as...
The Pimp.
Yeah, I love him.
He's also in an upcoming classic, Baby's Day Out.
As the pimp.
As the baby.
As the baby. He pimps out the gorilla.
He's like, meh.
The baby's like, meh. And he's like, baby. You ever get high, Joel? Yeah, all the time. This is one of the most fucked up things I think I've seen in a film. Okay, it's not, but it's fucked up. He's asking, like, Lana questions, like, why did you leave home? And he's like, my stepfather was, like, trying to, like, molest me. He's, like, coming on to me. And I was like, Jesus. It kind of took, like, a real thing there.
Yeah.
But then, like, the car gets locked, and she, like, puts the keys in there, and it's in neutral, and it, like, rolls downhill onto a pier and stops at the very edge, and then the whole end of the pier just like falls off.
Ooh, that was a close one.
Yeah, it's like the most cliche shit. And it's like the whole end of the pier just falls, where it's like on like Jaws the Ride or something. And I have one note that says, "What a bitch." And then some random guy says, "Who's the U-boat commander?" I was like, "What?" I guess. Because he was wet.
He turned his boat into a submarine.
I was like, huh?
Or his car. He turned his boat into a submarine.
Actually, if his car got turned into a submarine, it would make more sense. Because it would be fine.
Yeah.
But like...
James Bond style.
Open James Bond style. So, I do have a note here, and this goes back the other way, but I turned a 180 on this. I say, so I've completely turned the corner on this Lana character. She's a freak in my eyes. Or wait, freak. No, it's fucker in my eyes. So mean-spirited. It kind of it went back around the other way, but at that moment I was like, why the fuck would you do that?
She's giving him the business. The risky business.
Essentially, she does that so he has to do what she wants. So, he grabs the nurse and, like, gives her, like, it's like, I gotta fucking, and she's, like, instant suspension. It's, like, wasted GTA style. It's like, boom.
Yep.
There's, like, a really fucked up part, though, after this, where, like, he goes to the railroad tracks and it looks like he's gonna freaking commit suicide. Where he's just, like... like flipping out and shit. Like, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
that shit just happened to his dad's car, and he's like,
like Ferris Bueller style. Only it's not a comedy.
It's like, coming! And then there's a heartwarming scene where he goes back to Lana and cries on her shoulder. And it's time to start the business!
I love this part because it's like there's a montage.
Yeah.
And there's that song Manish Boy playing by Muddy Waters. It's like, man, I'm the man.
I'm the man.
Man child.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Man.
On the day I was born. It's like, what? So Balky's over here letting all the women in. And he's also the treasurer. Lana does production, and Tom Cruise goes and gets the customers, and they're eating at a Dairy Queen. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was back when you could have restaurants in your movie without having to pay them. Like, you wouldn't have to put like some sort of tie-in with the movie, like fucking Superman, where it's like IHOP is so prominent and Home Depot, and it's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, I know these places exist, but it's like you could shoot in them and we wouldn't have to know. It's like when in what's it called, the movie with Denzel Washington we watched, where he works in that
The Equalizer.
Yeah, where like they probably like that might have been a set, but they probably could have just shot in a Home Depot and nobody would have fucking known, you know, because they didn't advertise it. It's like, dude, that's the way to do it. Anyway, everybody's showing up to get a piece of the action. Everybody's going to turn it out like Action Jackson.
Turn it out. Lots of people get turned out in this movie.
Yeah,
okay,
especially
maybe.
Tom Cruise over the course of the film.
Yeah.
So I have a segment here I'd like to call IMDb bullshit trivia that I'm not sure if this is real or not, but I want to kind of do this from now on because we've actually come to a conclusion. I think that all the trivia that a lot of people post on IMDb is bullshit. Yeah. Because I think I found this out and I brought it up to you where it's like you can post something on IMDb and you have to have a source to get it deleted, but you don't have to have any like sources to get it posted. So it's like harder to prove that it's false. I think this is a weird thing because it's not exactly a piece of trivia. It's just somebody wrote this, and I thought it was kind of weird. It's like in this movie, Joey Pants, as you call him, character tells Joel he is lucky to still have his legs, arms, and head. Ironically, in The Sopranos, 1999, Pantaleone's character is decapitated and his legs and arms are sawed off. And I'm like, that's not really trivia. That's just a
fuck off
connection of what happened with the people. So
I want to punch whoever.
This one pissed me off right here. Sean Penn, as the man sitting in the passenger seat as Joel first takes the Porsche for a spin. This cameo was a favor for director Paul Brickman. Penn and Tom Cruise had starred together in Taps. Who knew? This is just like somebody wrote this in part. Who knew Penn would wind up becoming the biggest star in this movie? I'm like, that's fucking debatable.
Well, no, it's not. It's not debatable. It's incorrect.
Well, no, I'm saying it's debatable that Sean Penn is a bigger star than Tom Cruise.
That's not true. Like, you could debate. You're right. You could debate that.
Right.
Anyone who would argue
but
that.
But, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this person said, who knows Penn would wind up become the biggest star in the film. And I'm like, that's not...
horrible.
Yeah. Those were the two. I tried to find the most egregious that I could find. The other ones were just, like, whatever. But I like that. I like putting these down because a lot of them are just like, what the fuck? Like, I just wish...
If you wrote that, we're coming for you.
Maybe with Sean Penn.
Yeah. That's the only way it would make sense.
He's like, who knew that Sean Penn was the real star? I mean, he's been in some good shit, but like, come on, fucking Sean Penn versus Tom Cruise, like. Yeah. Anyway, so he's having his meeting with a guy from Princeton, and it's
Richard
like
Mazer from
shit.
The Thing.
Yeah, and it's like all wacky and shit.
Yeah.
Stuff keeps happening.
It's like sitcom style almost.
Yeah. He's like, how we doing? Looks like University of Illinois. And he's got like the classic that I saw was like he's like shows his big of course teeth. So yeah. So Tom Cruise is playing with his trains like Gomez Adams over here. And this part I didn't really understand because like I don't know if like this movie had like an identity crisis at one point because like there's this scene where he's like with the Princeton guy, and at the end of the whole thing, he says, like, you know, like, you just got to say, what the fuck, pretty much, and go for it. And then, like, a scene, like it seems like he's kind of, like, come into his own and be like, I'll do whatever the hell I want. And then a scene later, he's, like, down in the dumps, and it's like, it doesn't really fit, like, if I were editing this, I would, like, put this before that scene.
Yeah. I could see that.
But then, like, after this, it's like, that scene never happened. He just goes back to the way he was. Yeah. So it almost seems like it was for padding, or they had a scene they liked with, like, him and, like, Lana, and they didn't want to get rid of it.
I can see that.
Anyway, so...
But that's where this weird line where Rebecca De Mornay's like, I want to make love on a real train.
Yeah!
As opposed to, what, like a train set?
Or a
like
midnight meat train. Like that little, like, Vienna sausage thing that I posted.
The midnight meat train was a real train.
That's true.
Real scary.
Real shitty ending. Rutherford made a few new friends, and he'd do his best for me. That's what they said, because I guess he stuck around and, like, boned some of the women.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, how many... everybody there is, like, walking out with, like, 25 STDs. I was like, my note says, oh shit, playing Seville Collins. I can hear it coming in the air tonight. I was like, dude, this is some legit shit here.
Great scene.
That would cost you like $1 billion today if you want to put that in your movie. She wants to make love on a real train, and she said, this is the midnight meat train. Making out, and Tom Cruise looks over at this, like, homeless guy in the train, and he, like, yawns, like, I guess he's bored seeing people starting to fuck. He's like, it's a living. And now he's eating chips, and then he starts drinking. And a funny scene in, like, this kind of tense sexual thing, and they show Tom Cruise grab him and take him off the train and just, like, sit him down at a random stop. And I'm like, dude, what if this guy doesn't have the money to get back on that train? You just, like, fucked him.
Yeah.
But he didn't matter because he was getting fucked. So, sex in slow motion on the train while it barrels through stop after stop without stopping, just like Midnight Meat Train.
It's a metaphor for boffing.
It's a metaphor for Midnight Meat Train, which this movie ripped off many years ago.
You're right about one thing. There was meat on that midnight train.
Exactly, Midnight Train. And then he gets his dad's car and it's fixed, and he's driving it like slow as hell, like slower than bicycles, because he's like, shit, you know, like, yeah.
If they were able to fix that perfectly without his dad noticing anything, that was like the biggest miracle of all time.
That and getting all the furniture
like it would
back
stink.
in the house and everything, like, that's movie logic to the fucking T. And let's see here. I thought it was funny that they're playing Phil Collins during the sex scene on the train, and then he comes home and he's like whistling it. So I'm like,
oh, he is? I didn't notice that.
So I was like, so they were playing it in the train, and we were just privy to hearing it. And then we've got, of course, we talked about how, like, he steals everything, and then he has to go to the pimp and, like, buy everything back. He calls him Buster and an a-hole. And he was like, you called me an a-hole. I was like, so essentially,
it's a good thing Guido was nice to him in the end.
Yeah, he was a nice enough guy for being like a low-life piece of shit. Like, he could have been way worse. But yeah, he essentially, like, is like, yeah, you know, like, that he made all that money over the weekend and had enough to pay for his dad's car, and he had a bunch left over, but then he, like, all of it he had to use to buy back stuff that he stole from him.
Mm-hmm.
So he got the money from him anyway.
He got it anyway.
Which I'm sure that guy was like, holy shit, I can't believe this guy made that much money over the weekend. So they have a talk where it's like, you know, what are we going to do in 10 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years from now? And she's like, I think we're going to make it really big. And I'm like, well, that's correct for one of you. But and then she's walking around outside, like, cutting glass because she's not wearing a fucking bra. I was like, can't believe this was in theaters. Like, this day, that would not fly. Sadly.
That's one of the things I like about this movie. It's like a real movie about Boff.
Okay, we got him. He finally said something perverted. He's going to jail. You're going to jail for being a pervert. No, I agree with you. It's one of those things where it's like, it was definitely a different time when you could show this kind of stuff, and now it's like,
Thanks a lot, Marvel.
They were like, no nakedness.
Yeah.
She says we should spend the evening together, and he's like, how much you got on you? Like, that's pretty funny. There was actually 2 endings for this film. One where it was like the happy ending, and there was another ending where it's like, essentially they kind of have like a falling out and stuff doesn't really...
Yeah, I watched it. Like in the real ending, they kind of like walk off into the sunset.
Yeah.
But in the other ending, it's kind of like you're not sure what's really going to happen.
Yeah.
They're just kind of sitting there like, eh.
Yeah, I think that from what I heard, they like the studio wanted like the ending that became the end of like the actual end of the film, and like they filmed both and they showed them to an audience. The audience was like, "Dude, this director's cut once sucks." Like, you know, like
it's much darker.
It's one of the times when like a studio getting involved actually kind of made the film a little better, because like that ending I think is after all the shit that he goes through. And like to like kind of have that, you know, somewhat feel good thing at the end of the film was definitely sets it up.
I think they're both interesting.
It's definitely interesting to hear about that, like the alternative stuff they do in films.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this film.
Yeah, I think we nailed it. You were right about one thing. That business was risky.
Risky business. How much would you give this? How much? I mean, what would you give?
I'm like,
$1.
$20.
Yeah. How much would you give?
I'm going to go 8.95.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you?
7. Yeah, it's like a 7. Solid 7.
Oh.
7.95. Oh. Wonderful. Great. So I guess we're going to check here and see what's the weird watches for next week? Since you
I'm not prepared. No, it's Oz.
Oz?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
and not
what is
wizard.
that? Is that like the
prison?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be a barrel of laughs.
Yeah. It's gonna be a laugh riot.
Yeah.
We laughing all the way to the blood bank.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so now I need to get the buddy shots thing up here. Okay, so I have to turn this away from the...
No looking.
From Matthew. No looky. I got hooked. Speaking of which, that's one of the things on here.
Delete that. It's not going to happen.
Listen, I already suffered through fucking Day of Reckoning or whatever the fuck it's called. Okay, so we've got... Shit.
That doesn't sound good.
We've got a bunch of shit. I'm like, thanks guys, you were like fucking me on this one. So let's go 1 through... Let's go 1 through 14.
Niner.
I think that's like the 20th time you've picked that. Yeah, that's like, once again, you've picked the same person we've done 100 times.
Should we pick a different one?
Yeah, pick a different one.
You could just say it's a different one, and I would never know. But I respect your honesty and integrity.
I don't lie on this podcast, man.
Let's go 4.
4? Okay. Let's just do 9. No, I'm just kidding. It's a movie called Necrotronic. Dan picked this one, so...
Alright. Better be good.
Yeah, I've never heard of this film before, so this is interesting. Let me go ahead and post it here. Okay, so next week we're going to be talking about Necrotronic and Matt's Weird Watch, Oz. Yeah. So I guess as every week, Steak Belmont 64. Do you have anything else to say before I close it out? Okay, Steak Belmont 64 on YouTube, where you can catch every one of these episodes every Monday. The past ones are on there as well in the playlist. And you can check us on our other social medias on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch of the same name. And my name is Mike. I deal in human fulfillment. I grossed over $8,000 in one night. Time of your life, huh, buddy boys? And And I'll let Matt end it here.
Bye.